like almost in the old days being in the wine club on a Friday night. You know, last night we had a moment of historical significance in the state of Colorado when the bill legalizing civil unions died in the House. And there were a lot of questions about how that happened. Was there enough time? There wasn't enough time. Along with that bill, 30 other bills died. And it appears certainly that several of them will not be able, they can't find a way to get them into other legislation. So we decided that without question, we intend tomorrow to call for a special session. We're going to try and keep it narrow. But certainly we're going to talk about civil unions. And I think there is, I mean, I spent a long time in the restaurant business, and a lot of the people that helped us create that business didn't have the same rights as everybody else. I'm a little bit sleep deprived, so that the emotions come too quickly to the surface, but I had a call yesterday from one of them and just asked, if not now, when. So I think what our goal is to make sure that we do everything we can to try and make sure that there is a fair, open debate on the floor of the House and the Senate, that the issue gets discussed, that we allow people the chance to vote on it, and then we move forward. We move this entire state forward to make sure that as Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We want to make sure that that arc continues moving forward. So, I don't think I have to belabor the point, compose myself again. We've had over 500 calls and emails this morning. Overwhelming majority think that the state needs to have a special session, that it needs to have an open discussion of the issue, and again, at least work towards a resolution. If we can't get it, we don't get it. But I realize we can't control the final resolution. But there is an overwhelming need, and it's not just among Democrats, it's among independents and Republicans to have an opportunity to discuss this issue fully and then get a chance to vote. So, are there any questions?
Governor, yeah. Did the Republicans mishandle this last night by not letting the elected representatives take a vote?
I'm not going to criticize anybody in this. You know, social issues are ones that are emotional for all of us and intense and very complex. And I think certainly everything that happened last night was within the rules that this state has created by which we govern ourselves. So it certainly wasn't the outcome that I hoped for, and I think many people expected, but I'm not going to criticize the process.
Governor, will the special session be limited to this issue?
No, I mentioned there are a number of bills, 30 bills died last night. I think they're trying to figure out ways that if they can combine them with another bill and still extend in the Senate, they'll do so. But clearly several of the bills, there's no title that fits. And so we're going to focus, try and keep narrowly defined, look at issues around economic recovery, public safety. There's a water bill that died last night that we think is important as part of our economic recovery. So I expect there'll be other bills as well in this.
The Senate is working on amending some of those bills and other bills. They might be able to do that by the end of the day. So are you waiting until that to know what it is exactly you're going to call?
Oh, absolutely. We're not telling you what's going to be there because we want to see what they can get done, and certainly they are working as hard as they can. But I think there is a benefit to allowing, making sure that it gets done properly.
So if they put civil unions in the School Finance Act, are we okay with that?
Sexual education is a complex subject. I recognize that.
I'm sorry, when would this start? Tomorrow, 3 weeks from now? What?
Soon. We wouldn't wait. We wouldn't, either Friday or Monday, sometime in the near future, because I think we want to move forward, right?
Do you have any expectation as to how long it may last?
I don't control that, and so my understanding is that a special session has a duration of at least 3 days if you want to actually pass legislation. But the legislature will decide what the duration is.
How involved were you in the negotiations or discussions last night when it became apparent that there was a gridlock in the House?
Well, I think as it evolved, there wasn't a lot that I or anyone could do. So I wasn't, we certainly followed it. I was in the building till late in the evening, and certainly wanted to be constructive if there was a compromise, if there was a way to facilitate a resolution to get it on the floor and get it discussed. But that opportunity just never appeared.
You talked about going to a vote of the people. Are you calling for them?
No, I'm talking about a vote of the elected representatives,
Okay, so
right?
you're not calling for them to do a referendum?
No.
Moving forward, how?
Among the 30 bills that died along with civil unions, what are your priorities that you want to see passed either today or in a special session?
Well, I think that the issues around public safety, economic recovery are first and foremost. I think we'll try and keep this focused and narrow to make sure that there is time for ample discussion for all the issues that are brought forward to the special session.
Governor, are you among them? The unemployment bonds?
Certainly the unemployment insurance bonds, that aspect of it is, I think, has significance to our business community and did not appear like they could make it fit in with an existing title. But again, we're going to wait until the end of the day to see what they can get done and how they resolve the issues.
Governor, you keep talking about public safety. Does that include the pot DUI bill?
Again, it depends. We're going to wait until the end of the day to go through the specifics.
Governor, what's to prevent similar kinds of parliamentary procedures in a special session? We saw last night taking place again, and it's 11 with Bill killed.
Well, there's nothing you can do to prevent that. To a certain extent, that we've got enough other legislative work to do that I think is of sufficient significance to the economy that we need to call a special session anyway. But it does allow us. I mean, there were complaints that there was not sufficient time to have a full debate around the civil unions bill on the House floor. Now, because we've got this other stuff to work on, we have that opportunity.
Governor, are you concerned about a backlash from taxpayers over the expensive special session over the social issue?
Each year the state puts in escrow money for a special session for situations like this, where you have extraordinary circumstances that occur that are highly unusual, which is, I think everyone will agree what happened last night was highly unusual. There is now, I believe, $350,000 escrowed for exactly this purpose. So this is not going to raise taxes. This is money that's not used for something else. And I think if done properly, we should be somewhere, the budget estimate that I saw was somewhere around $75,000. So we would not in any way deplete this fund that is, again, specific allocation for special sessions.
Governor, did the president just said about an hour ago that he supports gay marriage? I know that that's not possible here in Colorado because of constitutional amendment, but where do you stand on that issue?
Well, I said this when I was in the restaurant business. I said it when I first ran for mayor. I said it continually when I ran for governor. I said it in the State of the State speech, when at the beginning of this year. I don't think government should tell religions who they should marry, who they shouldn't marry. That is something that we leave to each congregation. But I think that everyone deserves the same legal rights in this country. And the misinformation around sexual orientation that people think is a choice, where clearly it's not in the vast majority of cases. If this is a circumstance where we are depriving people of their civil rights without reason.
Governor, did the folks who are supporting this bill, Did they encourage you to call the special session, discourage you, or did you come to this decision solely on your own?
No, we had discussions, and I think there was concern by various parties, both inside this building and outside this building, of possible backlash, of various repercussions. What we're trying to do is not to. If there were a way I could do one thing, I'd want to depoliticize it. I don't think this is an issue about Republicans or Democrats. I think it's an issue about people and their rights. So there are certainly some risks that this will additionally politicize something that we would much prefer to depoliticize. But I don't see how we get around that.
Governor, just a couple of days ago, you said that you were confident this is going to get voted on the floor. Speaker McNulty would let it happen. Were you shocked by that move? And do you feel like you could have done more? What would you do differently to see this happen?
Well, certainly my political instincts have always been suspect. It's been remarked by an old friend of mine that in certain political senses, I'm about as sharp as a spoon. I will spend some time thinking about what I could have done differently, and just to have had the discussion, just to have gotten to the floor and been able to have a vote. I don't know at this moment what I would have done differently, but I'm certainly going to spend some time thinking about it.
Governor, were there important issues of economic value that took a backseat to certain social, possibly discriminatory ideas, and does that bother you? Because you seem to be very sympathetic to some of the civil union supporters. There is also an economic consideration here, and the House Republicans said this one issue is so important to us that we will move all these economic advantages to the back of the line. Does that disappoint you, and does it not?
Again, I'm not going to criticize either party in this whole process because I don't want to escalate the politics around it. But I was elected to represent the entire state. Certainly civil unions is something that I had discussed and had people talk in support of in pretty much every corner of the state, almost every town I campaigned in. Probably not every time, but frequently it came up. But it doesn't mean that we don't have a tremendous obligation to make sure that we get this economy going, right? I don't think it's an either or, right? I don't think we sacrifice a discussion about civil rights because we've got to get economic work done as well. I think you have to do both. This is what moves a state and moves a country forward. It's what creates progress. Is it when you're able to find the opportunity to have a full open discussion. People, almost always when you have a full open discussion, you're not going to persuade everyone, but generally people will moderate their positions and begin to find a place closer to the middle. And that's when that's how business transactions occur, that's how legislation finally evolves, and that's what our hope is. We continue to push for, we can't force it, but we're going to continue to push for an open discussion.
Was this an open discussion though? Because it never essentially reached the House floor.
Exactly, I agree, that's the point.
You talk about if we depoliticizing it, but it's so close to this dramatic night and emotions are so raw. Why do this right at this moment?
Well, we have the economic legislation that got killed last night. Most of those issues we're trying to make sure they get done before July 1st, so they can be implemented on July 1st. So you've got a pretty narrow window as it is. And our thought was that we want to be able to get the legislature together, do the people's business, and let them get on with their summer, the rest of their year.
Have you already spoken with Speaker McNulty and President Schaefer about this? Have you talked to them beforehand, or?
I did not, but I think others have.
When you talked with them last night, did you tell them this was a possibility?
I talked to Frank McNulty last night and told him that if it didn't come up for a discussion, that it would be hard for me to imagine not calling a special session, that I'd have to do that. I think he understood that.
Do you have reason to believe that they actually will take this up during the special session? Because as you've said, this does not force them to do that.
You never the one thing I've learned here in the last 16 months is not to predict. I think there will be, I can't tell you, I took an hour and a half off last night, went out for dinner with my wife, and 5 different people in different places asked me, is it going to pass? Right? They weren't Republicans or Democrats, they weren't, necessarily gay or lesbian, but they were interested. And I think there's going to be a lot of people asking, not just Frank McNulty, but his whole caucus, can't we find some way to get this discussed? Can't we figure out some way to put it forward? And we'll see. I can't force it, but I think it's important for the state that at least we make another effort on behalf of so many people out there. I mean, we've never had in such a short period of time more people calling and emailing the governor's office. I don't think I've ever seen this many people anytime I've been behind the microphone in this room. I think that demonstrates a certain obligation that we have to push a little harder if we can.
How will you push harder for civil unions to pass?
Well, that's what I'm doing right now. This is. I think this is often referred to as the bully pulpit. Teddy Roosevelt started that, but I don't control the center of the House. You guys might have noticed that over the course of the year. But I can try to channel the energy of the people of Colorado and create, a context that hopefully takes some of the politics out of it and allows an issue a chance to be discussed in a calm, rational basis.
We have time for 1 or 2.
Given the bill as it was written, is that the way you like the bill to be forward? What was in that bill? Do you think it should be more than that, less than that?
The bill, I think the bill is very similar to what's been in other states. Again, the notion is to try to focus on what are those legal rights that a state can endow on its citizens, that a state does endow on its citizens when they're married, and make sure that people that aren't married but have a commitment to each other are willing to make that long-term commitment a legal commitment. If they're willing to make that long-term commitment a legal commitment, then they should get the same rights. And I think that's what the bill does. It's fairly lean and efficient. One more?
What odds do you give it?
As soon as I answer that question, there'll be a headline somewhere in this state that Governor gambles on civil unions or something. I don't know. I think that we're going to keep the door open and try to find opportunities to talk about it and make sure that we have as full a conversation as we possibly can. The results will speak for themselves.
Governor, you keep saying conversation, but the votes are there to pass this. Is there any way that conversation ends with something other than a final vote in the House?
I don't know. Again, the parliamentarian process of this, certainly, and my expectation is that the conversation, the full open discussion should lead to a vote in the House. But again, that's not my decision. I don't control the terms of engagement. Anyway, thank you all.